I really don't care what happens to her at all. I don't care. Like everybody they tiptoe around with this social media, but what y'all don't get is that it be real consequence for y'all little flexes, y'all quick flexes for $300 that you need. It be consequence.
No one could have guessed how quickly everything would fall apart. It was a normal Tuesday afternoon when the phone call came, the one that would send Iman Shumpert racing across town, his heart hammering against his ribs as he tried to make sense of what he'd just heard. He had been in the middle of a meeting when the school counselor's number flashed across the screen. He almost ignored it, assuming it was just a routine check-in or an update about pickup schedules. But the voicemail that followed chilled him in a way nothing ever had before. A trembling voice explained that his daughter had shared something deeply concerning, that she was safe but shaken, that she needed her father right away. Iman's mind reeled. He barely heard the details. All he could focus on were the words that kept replaying in his head. "Mom's new man hurt me." Over and over, those words struck him like blows. He had always promised himself that no matter how messy his relationship with Teyana got, no matter how many times they hurt each other, their little girl would be protected from it all. He never imagined she'd be the one to pay the price for their decisions. And now, all he could think about was getting to her as fast as he could. As he drove, memories flooded in uninvited. The nights he spent rocking her to sleep when she was just a baby. The way she used to wrap her tiny arms around his neck and whisper, "You're my favorite," in his ear. The first time she fell off her bike and he carried her home, promising her that he'd always keep her safe. He thought about how fragile she'd looked the last time he saw her, standing at the door of Teyana's house while Aaron stood behind her with a tight smile. He'd told himself it was none of his business how Teyana chose to move on. He'd told himself all that mattered was that their daughter felt loved. But now he wondered if he'd been lying to himself just to avoid another fight. By the time he pulled up outside the school, Iman's hands were shaking. He barely remembered parking the car. He just knew he needed to see her face, to hold her and let her know she wasn't alone. When he stepped into the counselor's office, she was sitting in a small chair, her knees drawn up to her chest, her eyes red from crying. She looked so small, so vulnerable, that something inside him cracked wide open. He crouched down, ignoring the tightness in his throat, and reached for her hand. "Hey, baby," he whispered. "I'm here now. You're okay." She didn't say anything at first. She just stared at him, her bottom lip trembling. Then she burst into tears, burying her face in his shoulder. Iman wrapped his arms around her, feeling her little body shaking with each sob. He closed his eyes, wishing he could take every ounce of fear away, wishing he'd seen the signs sooner. He didn't even realize he was crying too until he felt a tear slip down his cheek. The counselor waited quietly, giving them space. When the sobs finally softened, she cleared her throat gently. "She told me something you need to hear," she said carefully. "She said Aaron has been unkind. She said he hurt her." Iman swallowed hard. He didn't trust his voice, so he nodded instead. He knew he had to be strong, but every part of him was burning with rage. He wanted to storm out of that office, drive straight to Teyana's house, and confront Aaron face to face. But one look at his daughter reminded him that this wasn't about his anger. It was about her. So he stayed. He listened. He held her hand while she explained in halting words how Aaron would scold her when her mother wasn't home. How he'd take her toys away and tell her she was bad. How sometimes when she cried, he'd tell her she was too sensitive. The part that shattered Iman was when she whispered, "He told me not to tell anyone because it would make mommy sad." That was when he knew there was no turning back. No more pretending. No more trying to be diplomatic. After she finished talking, she looked up at him, her eyes searching his face. "Did I do something wrong?" she asked in a voice so small it barely reached his ears. Iman felt his chest tighten. He cupped her cheek gently. "You didn't do anything wrong," he said firmly. "You were brave to tell the truth. I'm so proud of you." The counselor gave him a stack of papers, reports she had to file, statements to sign. He barely glanced at them. His mind was already working through the next steps. He needed to call his lawyer. He needed to figure out how to protect his daughter without traumatizing her any more than she already was. But first he needed to get her out of there. He carried her to the car, buckled her into her seat, and promised her she wouldn't have to go back to that house until they figured everything out. She nodded, wiping her nose on her sleeve. For the first time since he arrived, she looked a little calmer, like she finally believed someone was on her side. Meanwhile, Teyana was at home, unaware of what was unfolding. She was on a call with her stylist, planning an event she'd been dreading. She almost didn't answer when Iman's number lit up her screen. But something in her gut told her she needed to pick up. The second she heard his voice, she knew something was wrong. He didn't yell. He didn't accuse. His tone was low and controlled in a way that terrified her more than any shouting could have. She told the counselor that Aaron hurt her, he said. Teyana's heart stopped. What? Well, that's... She said he told her not to tell you. For a moment, all she could hear was her own heartbeat. She wanted to deny it, to say there had to be a misunderstanding. But the certainty in Iman's voice cut through every excuse. I'm taking her to my place, he said. And I'm calling my lawyer. Wait, she whispered, her throat dry. Please, let me talk to her. Iman was silent for a long moment. Finally he said, I'll call you when she's ready. Then the line went dead. The hours that followed were a blur. Teyana tried calling Aaron, but he didn't answer. She texted him over and over, demanding an explanation. When he finally replied, it was with a single message. I didn't do anything to her. But it was too late. The damage was already done. Word had spread faster than she could have imagined. Someone at the school leaked the report to a blogger. Within hours, headlines were everywhere. Teyana's daughter accuses mom's boyfriend of abuse. Comment sections exploded. Strangers called her a bad mother. Others insisted Aaron was a predator. Some defended him, saying the little girl must have misunderstood discipline. But Teyana knew her child. She knew the difference between a tantrum and fear. Iman, meanwhile, was sitting beside his daughter in her bedroom at his place. She'd finally stopped crying, but she wouldn't let go of his hand. She asked over and over if she had done the right thing by telling. Every time, he reassured her that she had. When Teyana finally called back, her voice was hoarse. Can I please talk to her? Iman looked at their daughter. Do you want to talk to mommy? She hesitated, then nodded. He put the phone on speaker. Baby, Teyana said softly. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Her daughter's lip trembled. I didn't want to make you sad, she whispered. I'm not sad at you, Teyana said, her voice breaking. You were so brave to tell the truth. I love you so much. I love you too, she said. Iman swallowed the lump in his throat. No matter what had happened between him and Teyana, they both loved this little girl more than anything. And right now that was all that mattered. Over the next few days, the storm only intensified. The story wasn't fading, it was growing, spreading like wildfire. Paparazzi set up camp right outside Teyana's house, turning her once private sanctuary into a circus ring. Cameras flashed relentlessly, capturing every glimpse of the house, every arrival and departure. Fans and critics alike took to social media with a frenzy. Some flooded the timelines with messages of fierce support for Teyana, others hurled sharp condemnation at her. The world was divided, but the spotlight burned hotter than ever. Meanwhile, Aaron wasn't silent. He finally released a statement, a cold, calculated move that reeked of damage control. He denied everything. No accusations were true, he insisted. Not a single hand had ever touched her in anger. According to him, his actions were all about helping her grow up with structure, painting himself as some tough love disciplinarian, misunderstood and unfairly accused. But the internet saw right through it. The comments section exploded with skepticism, anger, and disbelief. People weren't buying his story. Far from it. Then came a critical turning point. Iman's lawyer filed for emergency custody of little Iman, pulling no punches. The petition was airtight, including a detailed counselor's report that confirmed troubling signs. Statements from those who had noticed the once vibrant, happy girl becoming withdrawn, scared and silent. Teyana didn't fight it. She couldn't. The idea of forcing her daughter back into a potentially unsafe environment was unbearable. Protecting Iman was everything now, even if it meant giving up control. One particularly quiet night, while the world outside argued endlessly about who was right and who was wrong, Iman sat in the dark, quietly beside his daughter's bed. The room was still except for the soft rise and fall of her breathing. Her small hand rested gently on a well-loved stuffed unicorn, a symbol of innocence in a world gone sideways. He reached over, brushing a stray curl from her forehead, feeling his chest tighten with a mixture of heartbreak and resolve. He thought about every time he'd failed to shield her from the ugliness of adult battles, the whispers and shadows that no child should face. And in that moment he promised himself he would never let it happen again. Later, when Teyana called, Iman stepped outside to answer, needing the fresh night air to hold the weight of the conversation. Her voice was raw, heavy with exhaustion and confusion. "I don't know what to believe anymore," she admitted quietly, the vulnerability in her words unmistakable. "I never saw him act that way, not ever." "I believe her," Iman said softly, his voice steady, unwavering. A silence hung between them, long and thick, before she whispered back, I think I do too." Neither said much after that, because some truths are too deep, too painful for words. They didn't need to fill the silence. As dawn began to break over the city, flooding the streets with pale light, the headlines continued their chaotic spin. Tweets, debates, hot takes. But in that small bedroom, far away from the noise and judgment, a father and daughter finally slept without fear. And in that quiet, fragile moment, that was the only ending that truly mattered.